Hello guys and dolls, welcome back to Honey Badger 3D Print and Paint. Today we are taking a look at something that's created a real emotional barrier between my wife and I. The Green Goblin from Wicked3d. First of all, roll those credits. So, you saw part one, you wanted part two, here it is. So look, we'll do a quick 360 around this and I'll talk to some of the points of this model. First and foremost, this model is from Wicked3d. They are one of, if not our favourite Patreon at the moment. That coupled with Berserk, they're the same artists. They do astonishing work. The test of an artist's work is that you can scale it up quite a lot. This is 200% the original scale, and you don't lose the detail. What you actually get is more detail. So you actually see all the intricate parts they've put in, all the clever ways that they've tried to use space and how they've laid things out, and some of the details that can be lost on smaller models get blown up to great effect once we're at this sort of scale. This model is, as I said, 200% the original size. The original size, I think, is like 497 millimeters. So this is almost a meter. It's a mixture of FDM and resin. So we've got the glider is all FDM, the smoke is all FDM, the base is all FDM, and all of the Green Goblin is resin. There's a few parts that you'll see down in the corners. Those are resin as well. And then let's get on to machines that I used. So I used the Bamboo Labs for the base. The base, I have to say, is one of the only parts of this model that I'm disappointed with how it came out. It's not really the fault of the model. The model is sort of trying really hard to use the space that it has to the most effect, but that's really challenging. So I'm not a big fan of models that use a lot of smoke or a lot of rocks in their bases. The only reason why I don't like these is, I'll be honest and say, I'm not good at painting smoke and rocks. I don't know how to make it look interesting. At least with rocks, I can put in sort of tufts of grass and modeller's grass and things like that to sort of put in, to give it, sort of bring it to life a little bit and not just make it a big grey rock. I really struggle with smoke. I don't really know how to make it look organic. I don't know how to sort of give it a smoky effect. I think this is fine, and it works as well as I'm happy, as well as I'm going to go and make it work. But again, they had to accommodate this massive glider, and really this was one of the only ways they could have done it. It would either have been this or it crashing out of a building, and frankly a building would have just been unpleasant to paint anyway, so you know, I don't really know they could have done it any differently. The actual base itself, so I did this on the Bamboo Labs, still one of my favourite FDM printers. It didn't go together perfectly. Now I think this is actually down to the printer, not down to the model. My layer lines just didn't really go together. Like it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. I think there was a little bit of elephant's foot. I struggled a little bit with getting this onto the print base the way that I needed to, and it just didn't come together the way that I wanted it. It is just silver at the moment. There's a good chance, so the bottom of this smoke is actually flat and it keys to this bit of the base. I will probably take it off of that silver base, and I probably won't use the base. This already has a ridiculous amount of height anyway. It doesn't need that base adding to it. I don't really think it gives anything to the model, which is why I haven't bothered to really go in and paint it in any real detail. So I'm just probably going to take it off of that and leave it as a model on the smoke rather than using that. Time. My God. So I have missed family events in an effort to try and get this printed and painted. The model itself, the actual figure, I mainly did on my M3 Max. I did some of it on the Pegasus, and I did some of it on the GK2. So the actual model itself, including the face, which looks just like Willem Dafoe, I was corrected about that in the last video. It's Willem Dafoe, not William. Hands up. So, so especially the face, which looks just like him. I would say I probably finished that in about 5 days. About 5 days is how long that took. Spread across 3 resin printers. It is all hollowed out. It came out really nicely. So I was really happy with that. One thing I will say is that when you have models that you need to join straight lines and it's resin, it's a really good idea to do them both in the same resin and to do them on the same machine, and you will get the same sort of dimensional accuracy. I did the front and back of this hood on the Pegasus, and I did the face itself on the M3 Max, and as a result they didn't quite marry up in the right way. The resin I used was Sunlu's resin, and it did the job perfectly. All of the details popped. It was a really, really good resin to use. It's just a normal standard resin. It's not water washable. It's not like ABS or anything like that. But for the price and because of how big this model was going to be, I could not beat Sunlu in getting that just done. The rest of the FDM stuff is also Sunlu filament, and the smoke was done on my Sidewinder. Then all of the glider and all of the base were all done on the Bamboo Labs. The Bamboo Labs prints insanely quickly. The build volume was a bit of a challenge, and I had to cut up a few bits and pieces that didn't necessarily wouldn't have fitted otherwise. But it's probably all in about 15 to 20 days worth of printing overall. Some of the smoke took a really long time on my Sidewinder. It's a complicated geometry. There were multiple parts. They were quite large. I tried to do a really sort of thin infill, so I was only doing like a 5% infill for those, but they still just took a bit of time. Everything on the Bamboo Labs went ridiculously quickly because the bamboo is ridiculously quick. Paint time. God. Paint time, I would say, is around 30 hours. It's one of the longest paint jobs I've done, which is astonishing, bearing in mind that to look at it, it looks like one of the simplest paint jobs. It's green, bronze, purple, silver. That's about it, right? In those combinations. The difficulty was getting the coverage the way that I wanted, was getting everything to pop the way that I wanted, was getting this to sort of to really come together the way that I wanted. I like the way that the glows came out and things like that. They're quite tricky. I don't normally do lighting effects, so I'm quite pleased with how they came out. And the face and flesh tone are perhaps a little bit pinker than I would like them to have been. I didn't do all of my washes because I ran out of washes, so I didn't get to do everything that I wanted to do with that. But actually, I'm really happy with the way the face and everything came out. So, I mean, again, I cannot stress how good the models over at Wicked and Berserk are. They are, hands down, the best Patreon for DC and Marvel models that's out there right now. There are a few one-off models done by artists that you could debate are really nice, but the consistent quality that these guys are turning out every month is mind-blowing. That face looks like Willem Dafoe. Could even look like William Dafoe. I don't know what he looks like, but Willem Dafoe looks like that. So, you know, when you're doing 3D modeling, it's hard enough to get a human face to look human, right? Get the proportions right, get expressions right, capture, you know, make that face come to life, not make the eyes just look dead. To make that look like a person is incredibly difficult. There's a lot of artists that can't do it, and these guys have absolutely nailed that. There's only really a few other artists like Sidneek and Photos Mint who are doing 3D model quality even close to this, and both of those guys invariably just do busts, and you get this whole thing. So so absolutely, we'll put a link in the video description. Go and check those guys out. They are honestly, they're such a great Patreon. Gabriel, the guy who does a lot of the Wicked and Berserk sort of press and deals with their social media channels, is one of my favourite people. Everything I've ever shown him, he's loved. Whenever you put something up on their channel, on their Facebook page, and you show sort of your work, it doesn't matter whether you're at an intermediate level like us, you're at a pro level like Ben painting, or if you've, you know, it looks like you've had some sort of medical condition halfway through painting the thing. Gabriel loves all of it. He loves everything that you post. He's the best hype man that I've ever come across. He's a man who you could just curl out a turd on a table and be like, look at the thing I did, and he would say, look, there's probably a little bit of work to do there, mate, but I can see that you're trying, and I love it. He's a genuinely nice guy. He's a big fan of our channel. We're a big fan of his content, and we'll continue to do their models over and over again, because they're just so detailed. They're so easy to put together, and just the level of quality in these models, it's just unmatched with anybody else. So anyway, I've really enjoyed doing this model. That's not really true. I've actually hated doing it quite a lot, but I've enjoyed the end result, which also isn't really true because I don't really like my own painting. But I enjoyed the idea of doing it right up until I started doing it. And now it's done, and I'm glad that it's done because I don't have to do it anymore. So that's good. There's loads more coming on the channel. We will... Parts of this video have given you sort of a few glimpses of how the face looks in different parts, but we'll do a full 360 now, and you can take a look at it in a bit more detail. Links are in the video description. We'll also pop some links in for Sunlu as well, so that you can go and take a look at their resin and take a look at their filament, which is really competitively priced at the moment. It's some of the cheapest on the market. Those will be affiliate links, so full disclosure, we do get a little bit of money, but it can be a fun way for you guys to support the channel by going on and buying those things direct from Sunlu. Other than that, nothing else to say other than happy printing. Keep an eye on the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one.